Korie and Willie, thank you guys for joining me today.
Thanks
so
for
how you guys
having us.
doing?
Doing
Good,
good. Busy. Got a few things going on right now.
Just a few things, right?
Just a few things.
And one of those things is a musical, right?
Yes.
So tell me how this musical came to be, because I'm just fascinated in how you guys have sort of ended up on a stage production now.
Well, right after Duck Dynasty came out, we wrote a book called The Duck Commander Family, and the subtitle was How Faith, Family, and Ducks Built a Dynasty. And our agent read it, and she came to us and was just like, I feel like this is a musical. You know, it's the story of the American dream. It's rags to riches. It's a story about redemption, about a family that's stuck together through thick and thin, richer or poor, and that's all the things that go into making a musical. And we sat there and were kind of in shock for a little bit.
What's your reaction to that? You're like, a musical?
Well, at this point, I was like, I don't know, maybe it'll work. You know, for me, it gave us
actually, Willie said, how are we going to have time to do 8 shows a week? And I said, Willie, we're not in the musical.
I wasn't sure
it's going to be about us.
I didn't know how that worked, but
you thought you were going to have to sing
yeah,
and perform.
perhaps. Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, I thought
he was ready for it.
You were
I was
ready.
ready.
It seems
I was
like you were
hey,
ready.
why not? Let's try it. And it wasn't it was nothing about marketing or trying to get, make tons of money in theater. For us, it was just another way to continue to tell our story, to try to help people. It's more about glorifying God in our family, because we give Him the credit for everything we've done. And so as you watch the story play out, you're going to see full of mess ups and sinful stuff. It's stuff that we've lived our lives, and we've always been authentic and honest, and it was just another way to say, hey, somebody can see this and maybe it'll help them, help their family. And that's the way it turned out, and so we're great about it.
In Las Vegas.
In Las Vegas.
How did the location get picked?
Well, we looked at different cities, and Las Vegas came up, and I think they may have been worried at first how we felt about Las Vegas. But, just like cable television, I mean, we were putting a show out where we were saying a prayer at the end of the episode, and that wasn't typical in cable, and so it was...
I don't think it's anywhere else.
Right. So it was kind of that little bright light that was positive, and so we thought, why not Vegas? I mean, our show is all over the world, and a lot of people come in from Vegas all over the world. A lot of people travel to Vegas for work. She and I do every year. We go for the big hunting show out there every year. So I'm in Vegas a lot. I'm there for the SEMA car show. So, and when we're there, we've seen musicals and shows, and Las Vegas is a good city. It's got a little bit of everything, and there'll be.
I've never been. I was telling you off camera before that I've also never gone hunting, which is a true story. I never have. How do you react to that?
You got a reason to do both. You can go to Vegas and
come to Louisiana
and go hunting.
There we go. There we go. So how big is faith? I mean, you mentioned it. Is this a big theme then in the show?
Well, the very first song is Faith, Food, and Family, and because it's central to who we are. It's what's important to us. It's our life. But I think we never want it to be preachy or never want anything. The show Duck Dynasty is not that. It's basically just, here's our life, here's how we live it, and here's why we live it like this. It's because of our faith in God. And so, if you get that, if that's something that you're interested in, that you are attracted to because of that, then, here's who we follow.
And it's not always easy. It's not just because you have faith doesn't make it easier to live your life. There's a song in it called Love Ain't Easy, and that's what it deals with. It's not always easy, to go through life, and especially, with Phil's past and dealing with that. And so, hopefully you'll see that at its core is our faith, of who we are, and then second, family, and then food and other things, duck calls.
I love all of those things.
Yeah, things that we like.
What's it like to watch yourself, right? Because you guys do a reality show, right? So you get to watch yourselves, but when you're watching other people pretend to be you on a stage show dealing with stories about your life, what's that like?
It's pretty surreal. It's weird watching somebody play out. We're used to seeing people dress up like us too, like on Halloween. There's big Willies walking around in size, but seeing them up there actually trying to, portray where it was in our life. It deals with Korie and I dating and getting married, and
pretty personal.
It's very
stuff.
personal.
Very
It's
personal.
surreal. We'll get emotional watching it, and for me, it's just looking at all these forks in the roads that we came to, and our father came to, and our mother. All these forks and roads, and we took, the right ones to end up to where we are today. And at any point, if we wouldn't have, there wouldn't be a musical and there wouldn't be a TV show. And who knows, our families may not be together. So just watching that play out for me is pretty neat. And it was almost like the culmination of everything we've done, our careers, and we've done a lot of stuff, with books and Christmas albums and
You guys are busy, I'll say
television,
that.
and yeah, we've done all these things. And to me, the musical kind of buttons it up, and it brings you up until now. You know, in fact, even making the musical is part of the musical. You know, that
Yeah.
thought process of
That's
are
interesting.
we going to do a music?
Yeah.
Yeah, the way they do it's pretty neat.
What do you think the biggest misconception is about, you know, your family, right? Because there's a lot of things that are out there in media. What do you think is sort of one of the things, if you had a chance to tell people, no, that's not true, you know, what would that be?
One thing I think is that you know, religion and Christianity and your beliefs, it's hard to wrap up in a whatever, what do you call it, the tagline at the top of a story, you know. It's very hard, and so I think that's one of the hardest things is, you know, the message of the Bible and the message of God's love and the message of Jesus and coming to save us and his love for us is a huge message and story. And so for people to pull that out and take one thing that's said or one thing that, and then define our family by that it's hard. It's hard for us to see, and you know, we hope that we can tell a bigger story than whatever that big
And it's not
tagline
that,
headline is of the day.
Right.
And Phil's not, you know, our spokesman for sure. I'm not our spokesman. Everybody, you know, we're a
Everyone's
big
an
old
individual.
family. Yeah, we're all individuals. We all have the same core faith beliefs, and you know, Dad comes from a different time, you know, and he's rough around there, and he was rough. So for some way, he's got this, you know, he really wants to warn people about sin and try to tell them because he knows how
Right.
bad of a guy that he was, and so you know, now that we're in so many different areas now, even our children. You've got Sadie, you know. She
Dancing
had
with the Stars.
Yeah, she had a Dance with the Stars. She did a YouTube post about, you know, and she had
covered
no
that. We did a
makeup
story
on,
on it.
right? And so, and watching how much impact she has, and so it's just, you know, I mean, our day-to-day lives are, you know, we're busy and all that, but we continue to be hospitable and have people in and love people and help people and marry people, and we got.
How do you sort of balance it all, right? Because there's so much going on, and you guys are all so humble. I think that's the thing that people walk away from when they watch your family, when they see you do interviews. You know, it can't be fake because it's consistent. There's humility there. So how do you keep that? How do you keep that in the family with all that's going on?
Well, I think the important parts of our lives have stayed the same. You know, we are doing it as a family. We're all live on the same street. We go to the same church, the same school. So those things that are like core to who we are and that are important to our family have not changed one bit. You know, our lives, of course, have gotten a lot busier. We're in New York and Vegas and LA and Dallas and all in 1 week now. And so our lives have changed as far as that's concerned. But the core of who we are and what got us here and where we're going to end up when this whole thing dies down and is over or whatever, is stayed the same. I think that's what's really important.
And we always laugh at ourselves, and we don't take ourselves very seriously, and we've done that ever since we were kids. You know, whatever circumstance, I came, and the Robertsons came from very humble beginnings. There was no money. There was no, you know, we had 3 channels on TV, and we all lived in a 2-bedroom, you know, basically a camp down on a river, and but we were always proud, and we made jokes and told jokes and sat by that dinner table, and we were commercial fishermen, and that's what we were doing, and Dad was making this duck call, telling us these dreams about one day we're going to sell $1 million worth of these things, and it seemed like a good option at the time. We didn't have a lot else going on, and then we just take these opportunities. So I remember what it was like, you know, to be there. We struggled. I mean, even 5 to 10 years ago, we were struggling with business and borrowing money, and you got it pretty much, you know, we went all in on it to say there's something here that we can do. And then, you know, through the television show now, lots of things have opened up. And doing it as a family has really helped. I've got a lot of famous friends they're the only famous person from their family. And so you will get a little selfish, you know. Sometimes they get the whole world revolves around them because they usually hire everybody and they all work
Because it does,
for them.
you know, in practicality.
Right,
it
and they're
does.
like,
Right.
whatever that guy's
Really
got to do or
does,
that
yeah.
girl's got to do is the most important thing. With us, we're all in it together, so everybody's dealing with this at the same time. And you'll help people and go, hey, calm down now. You know, you can't complain too much.
Well, your brother said that. Your brother said that, you know, it's like a checks and balances system sometimes. You know, just making sure if you see somebody kind of getting a little bit out of line, you sort of knock them back in place, which is interesting because people will say, don't work with friends, don't work with family, avoid that. But you guys have sort of done the opposite and it seemed to have worked pretty well for you.
It's just we've done just the opposite of what probably the advice is, and because I've worked literally with my entire family, with Korie's family, works for us now the same way, and so we all do it together. It's not, but we all have a role, and there's a lot of trust there. You know, they know that Korie and I run the business, and so they got to trust us that we're looking out not just for ourselves, but also for them, and we know that Mom and Dad started this thing, so there's a big honor to them going, hey, without what you guys did, we would never have been able to do this. And then when it comes to television, you know, you get like an Uncle Si, and I mean, he's just gold. I mean, you know, he's just
everybody loves
it's
Si,
magical
right?
TV, what that man can do. And I never
is he like
saw
that in real? I mean, is he like this, just funny in real life?
I always say this: do you think you could fake that for that long?
No.
It's been 3 years now. So if he's faking, I don't believe he went to acting school. He was in the military for 24 and a half
So
years.
he's just always been this character in the family.
He's just a quirky dude, and used to, I thought, man, we used to, because we'd make DVDs about hunting, and I would be like, don't let Si talk because he's so bizarre, nobody will understand him, and realize that was the...
And now everyone's like, let him talk.
Everybody like, let him talk, and so he wasn't even slated to be on the Duck Dynasty. When the list came out of who was going to be on the show, there was no Uncle Si, and I called him, I said, guys, look, y'all need to look again at my uncle. I said, he's just insane, and so they came down. They said, "Well, we may use him from time to time." And then they met him and showed him, and now
Isn't it funny? They don't, they don't always know best, right? So
you don't know. You don't know how it's going to translate.
So he was not. That's really interesting.
Originally, it was the couples running this business together. So it was Jep and Jessica and Jason, Missy, and Korie and I, and Phil and Kay. So there was no, And then Si, his wife wasn't going to be on television. She, didn't care to be on television. So they thought, well, he's not a couple, and then once they saw him, it was like, oh, this dynamic is awesome. And it is.
funny
It's
not to
just,
have him.
And he sleeps all. I mean, what he does at work when he says he's working is, all that's true.
With the iced tea and the whole.
And he's got his iced tea everywhere. And
so funny. Let me ask a little bit about Sadie, because I'm interested in when she went on Dancing with the Stars. I know I've heard you guys talk about sort of it's a little scary. It's like, okay, well, now she's going to go out in the limelight, and it's a very public show. What were some of the things that went into the process of making the decision of whether or not she would do it?
Well, yeah.
Interesting. She almost didn't do it.
Yeah, it was a tough decision. She now she wanted to, had been talking to me about it. My mom's a big Dance with the Stars fan, so she and Mom watched it together. So she asked me about doing it, and I honestly didn't think Willie would say yes. So I was like, "Go ask your daddy," and then Willie's like, "Well, she's 17 years old. If that's what she wants to do, go for it." And I was like, "Okay, so here we go. I guess we're gonna do it." But yeah, it came down to it. They didn't ask her till late. Like called us on a Sunday, and she had to be there on Tuesday.
Oh wow!
It's very last minute, so it was a little bit stressful those 2 days of like, oh my goodness, this is real. Whether or not she was going to do it, and then to send her off to LA by herself at 17. But it wasn't that we were worried about her. We really had a lot of confidence in her. We trust her. She's
And she kind of thought not to do it, and I just nudged her a bit. I said, you can do whatever you want to do, but just think about it's a big deal. It's a big platform. You could really do a lot of things that I know she had the heart to do. What stuff she wanted to do for the Lord and all that. It wasn't about money. It was for what she wanted to do. And so I said, you should consider it. And they took a night. And so Korie called me the next morning and said Sadie's decided to do it. And she's heading off to LA. And we had a lot of fun with that. It was a lot of
so much fun.
They'd asked me to do it a couple of seasons before.
Why didn't you do it?
To be honest, I'd never watched the show, so I watched the show for the first time, and then I thought, heck no, I'm not doing it. No, I knew there was.
You're not a dancer?
That was. Well, it's a big commitment too. You've got to be able to stay out there for 3 or 4 months and do all this stuff. And for us, at the time, we were really busy. And I thought about it. I thought, well, that make it get in shape. And then I said, nah, we'll let the Sadies of the world need to do that.
She did a great job, and it's funny because we did a story the first night that she was out there, and the next morning I thought, people really love Duck Dynasty, our readers really love it. It was one of the biggest stories we ever had in the site, and all it was a couple of paragraphs, the video, and I think it was because it represented something bigger, that they had brought her in, and she represented her faith and everything. It was just really fascinating to watch, and people consistently were interested in that story throughout, and obviously all the great things she said. So I imagine you were pretty proud.
The fan base was awesome. I mean, now we're Sadie's parents. Everywhere we go, it's
we
like,
turned into,
that's Sadie's
we're no
mom.
longer Willie from Duck Dynasty. I'm Sadie's dad.
Exactly, yeah. And so, I mean, her fan base was just awesome. They cheered her on the whole way through, and that was really fun to see too. And that was really, I think, my concern more than I trusted her and knew she would be great. It was just like, what people would say, because there's haters out there and
Oh, yeah,
social
absolutely.
media and all
Well,
that.
the outfits, you know, the whole.
Yeah.
Yeah,
all
you know,
that
and
stuff.
people were like, what, you know, you're a Christian going on this show, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I thought, oh, you know, I don't want her to get all that. But we got some of it, of course. You
Yeah.
always are going to. But for the most part, people were just so encouraging. And that was fun to see as well.
How do you end up with a Sadie, right? I mean, and all of your kids are really good kids. And I think now a lot of parents are petrified. I mean, I have a 2.5-year-old and I have a baby on the way. And I'm thinking, things are really bad right now. What is it going to be like in 15 years, right? And then you see people like Sadie who are unfortunately are so rare in the spotlight. How did you guys do it? What's the
Well,
secret?
goodness.
I always said there was a lot of people that were involved in all our kids' lives, and Korie's parents are very instrumental, especially with us being so busy and having to move and shake and do, you know, go negotiate television deals and book deals. And so all these people, my parents, Korie's parents, aunts, I mean, everybody, teachers at school, you know, so many people have influenced our lives. And we were like that the same way. You know, I was influenced by far more people than just my parents. You know, my youth minister, you know, is still a great friend to this day. And so I was, you know, I worked with a lot of people, and I felt like, you know, we tried to just, you know, lay out the line. And Korie's writing a book now, trying to put that down on paper. I'm helping a little bit about a book about how to raise kids called Strong and Kind, and so we try to put that down, just some of the core things that we have. And I think it happens at the ages
Yeah,
your
that's what I'm
kids are.
saying. I think
that too
that's
is where
the
it happens.
key is when you start thinking about it when they're babies. Like, well, how do I want my 2-year-old to be when she's 18?
Right,
you know,
yeah.
it's thinking about what kind of adult you want your children to be, and that's really, and then, you know, a lot of prayer and giving it to God. But I think that's the time when you start looking at that and
Yeah, that's
you know,
where it happened. Because I'm kind of a laid-back dad, to be honest. But at 2 and 3 and 4, I mean, at that point, I really was. That's where the training was coming in, and just say, you know, teaching them to obey and teaching them to, you know, it's for their own good. And so,
Right.
and once we got that, it's way easier when they're 12. You know, when they're 15, having to deal with that. If you just let them be disasters young, you know, a lot of times those kids are going to struggle. You know, because they don't
Yeah.
have any discipline, they don't know how to mind and obey and all these things. that
Yeah,
we taught 'em.
2-year-olds. I'm telling you, we've learned quite a number of lessons the last 6 months. It's been interesting.
You
and
had to
fun.
lay the
They
law
can be a
down, yeah,
challenge.
because
They
there's
can
a
be a
real
challenge.
fight. You know, there's just this fight. You know,
Oh, yeah.
and our kids are, some of them fought worse than others.
well,
and-
and that's the point when they start realizing like the world doesn't revolve around them, and they don't like that fact,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, because they're
Oh, yeah.
a baby. You know, the world revolves around the baby. Of course, you have to. You got to feed them and do everything for them. Then about 2, it starts realizing, wait a minute, like I don't get everything I want, and this doesn't all go exactly the way I want it to go.
Right. Yeah,
And
exactly.
That's when the tension
Oh
starts.
yeah, we're in that phase. It's fun. Yeah, she's in the no phase. you know.
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting. It starts that young.
It does.
I
That's
think that's.
really-
I've
I think
always
that's the
told
key.
people that for years is that, I mean, that was my philosophy. It happens right there, and so you'll be able to fix a lot of things right there. You know, and it's difficult. It's tough because you don't. I mean, there was nights that I sat there, I was like, I'm just a jerk. You know, I'm the guy who's just wham. You know, I got to lay down the law. But I felt like that in the future it was going to help. And like I said, John Luke and Sadie, who are, you know, now in their teenage, John Luke's supposed to get married, and so we couldn't be more proud of the things they've done and accomplished. And in spite of
of our
all this
kids, all of our
celebrity
kids, yeah.
and all that, you know, and they've done great. And our other 2 kids are great, and hopefully, and they've got 2 great role models, you know,
Yeah,
there
absolutely.
to look at.
When you look at the world 10 years from now, for your kids, for your grandkids, you know, what do you hope to see in the world, and how do we get there based on sort of where we are right now, culturally speaking?
That's
Yeah.
an easy question.
yeah,
It's a loaded
really.
question, but I
Wow.
throw it out. Listen, you know, I'm gonna throw it out there and see.
Oh man.
Well,
I don't know.
I do see one thing that I have seen in our kids, and you know, John Luke and Sadie getting to that age where they're doing a lot of things on their own. They're speaking a lot. I really have seen a kind of a swelling of that generation wanting to do something good, wanting to make positive change in the world. And you know, I've seen that with our kids and the people that they're connecting with and the things that they're doing. And I think there is a shift in that, and that's a lot about what I'm talking about in the book called Strong and Kind. Just instilling those values in your children. It may not be about everybody's going to do it differently. You know, how you're going to raise your kids and all that. It's all going to be different. But if you put those values to where they're going to be kind, they're going to be strong, they're going to be, you know, respectful and compassionate, and all of those values that are important, then whenever they get to be adults, they're going to be good people, you know. And so hopefully, I think that's the key. You know, if we can, kids do what they see their parents do, and they value what they see their parents value. And a lot of times as parents, we say we value one thing, but we're not living like that's what we really
Right,
value.
the actions aren't matching up.
Exactly. And so, you know, hopefully, you know, I think that's the challenge as parents. If we raise kids to have those values, you know, then our world will be a kinder, better place. And I'm seeing it happen. I think it's happening in the world.
You know, politically, if we can elect people with those values and you know, elect people that do that. So I think there's so many, you know, areas in which we can grow and, you know, kind of, I guess, do like Ronald Reagan, you know, change the hearts and minds of people, you know, and then you can make some change. So, you know, it's bad, but like I've said too, I mean, Easter Sunday we had AD come out on a huge network, and you know, people were watching and celebrating Christ. So there's, I mean, they're still good, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, Duck Dynasty. There's a lot of these. A lot of these shows have sort of emerged, and it's interesting. It comes at a time where it's almost like Hollywood's fighting back. In some ways, you have shows that have gotten even more like on primetime. It's like, well, how did this get on primetime? But you do see that counterbalance of content, like what you guys are doing coming out, which is interesting and different.
Well, and it's really interesting if you look at the statistics of how well family-friendly programming and family-friendly movies do compared to some of these financially.
It's insane how much money.
Yeah, you would think, why are they ever making a movie with all this filth in it? Because financially, the movies that are family-friendly do better. It's just, you know, a fact.
And even top 10 shows. I mean, you look at the top 10 shows, a lot of it's football, a lot, you know, during football season, a lot of it Dancing with the Stars, shows like that that are definitely not in line with some of the other programs that are much more inappropriate, I would say, for primetime sometimes.
Yes.
Let me ask you guys about Left Behind. There was also God's Not Dead. I mean, you've sort of been involved with other Hollywood projects that are going on. Is that something you see yourselves continuing to do?
Well, we looked at, you know, with our schedule, it's, I think everybody's got to remember that we're still actively filming a show that takes a lot of our time. So as long as we're doing that, it's really hard to do these other projects. And those are a few that we could, and we certainly look at and helpful. But yeah, we always look at our opportunities, see what we have time to do and what we can be a part of. But you know, the movies is another genre, you know, that we can look at and maybe dabble around in. And if it's something that, you know, piques our interest, and especially if it's spiritual, you know, and faith-based, then, you know, obviously we're looking at those.
All right, last question. What's the craziest thing that has happened to you guys? Funniest, craziest, since you've started filming Duck Dynasty?
We've gotten some strange things in the mail, you know, since Duck Dynasty started. We had somebody send us like duck urns with our name on it and everything.
That's
yeah,
weird.
that was a little strange, but they're beautifully done.
It's
and
nice,
yeah,
but
it's very
strange.
nice, but a little strange. We've had, you know, bedazzled ducks and that have like a woolly bandana on them. We've had all kinds of fans make us some. We've had paintings and and some of them are really amazing. I mean, they took lots of time.
Themselves. I think my favorite autograph or picture story was I was at the airport and I was walking out and there was a young guy there, and he kind of looked a little gangster looking, and he was like, "Yo, Willie," he said, "let me get a picture." And I said, yeah, you know, if we, you know, I was in Monroe, and I was heading home, and I said, yeah, sure, you know, real quick. And so he says, D, and he yells at another guy who's standing over. He said, go get my phone so I can get a picture. Well, at this point, I'm like, whoa, I don't have time to wait to go get the phone or whatever. He pulls out his wallet, and I don't know how much money he had, but he just rifles through it real fast, grabs a wad of cash, throws it in my palm, and he said, do you still have to leave? And I said, well, we can wait on D a second. Yeah, I guess I mean, sure, I got a minute here.
I haven't heard that story.
It was $160 he gave. And everybody's like, did you keep the money? I was like, of course I did.
You did?
I gave it to our house cleaner.
Oh my goodness.
And she went out to eat.
So you did something good with it,
No, I
right?
passed on to her. I got on my house cleaner. I said, look, some guy just gave me this much money for a picture, and I'm giving you this money. And it was actually her husband's birthday, and they went to Red Lobster. I said, well, you can knock out a couple of Red Lobsters with
How long did you wait for the phone to come?
It was like 5 minutes.
So you waited. I mean, $160 in 5 minutes is
I didn't even count it. I didn't know how much it was. And he looked at me and he said, and I said, yeah, okay.
There we go. That's so funny. Well, listen, thank you guys very much for coming down. We'll have to have you back to chat more soon.
I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.